Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a horror comedy from the USA, English language, released in the year 2022, directed by J.J. Perry, and this film is called Day Shift. So Day Shift is about a vampire hunter. He has a loving daughter and an ex-wife. Now, he's under a lot of pressure because at his work, he is under a lot of disciplinary action because he doesn't follow the rules. And so his boss has said, okay, this is your last chance. You do one more thing wrong and you're out. So he's put on the day shift. So he's not able to hunt as many vampires and get as much money. And this is really driving him to a lot of stress because his ex-wife has said that she's taking their daughter across the country to another school if they can't come up with $10,000 within a week. Now, this vampire hunter desperately wants to remain in his daughter's life, so he has to try and come up with the funds. But it's made even more difficult because the boss has told him that a union rep is going to be following him doing his thing, and any wrongdoings are going to be recorded. So there's a lot of pressure. Initially, the two of them don't get together, don't get along together. But then they realise they're going to have to work as a team if they are to survive, because this man's work life is starting to clash with his personal life, which is putting everybody in danger. So what that danger is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now, my thoughts on Day Shift. I saw this on Netflix. It's an American horror comedy, so I really wasn't expecting much. I'm not really into the American style of humor, so it doesn't really gravitate to me. So having no expectations whatsoever coming into this movie, I will say that I was surprised at how serviceable it was. I actually thought it was a very fun horror comedy. There are problems that the movie has that I'll go into a little bit later, but I thought as though the director juggled the horror and comedy aspects very well. When the horror was on screen, I thought it was actually very entertaining. The choreography and the action set pieces was fantastic. I thought it was very gory, but it was very true to the tone of the film. The film has a very cartoonish feel, and the gore is done in a way where it actually suits a horror comedy. It's not there to disturb you, but I thought it was surprisingly brutal for the type of movie that I was expecting it to be. So the horror aspects work, and I thought the comedy really worked. And this is the most surprising aspect. I actually felt as though this movie was written by a genuinely funny person, because it almost felt like a buddy cop sort of film in 48 Hours or Rush Hour, when you've got two very different people put together and they just work really well off each other, with some of the deadpan humor and the more slapstick humor. Jamie Foxx does a very good job as this vampire hunter, and Dave Franco does a very good job as the union rep. I actually thought as though the union rep was the best character in the movie, because he had a sense of ignorance to him and a sense of innocence, and that innocence and ignorance played really well off the tough guy image of Jamie Foxx. So that was definitely what worked the best, is that the chemistry between the two main characters is what made it funny. I actually thought as though the humor was very surprising. So you have that humorous aspect and the characters that mold together very well within the tone. So both genres don't outweigh the other. So I always felt as though it was part of the same film. And that's ultimately the best part of Day Shift. And so if you like your light-hearted horror comedies, then I definitely feel as though Day Shift is very serviceable. But unfortunately, there was a major issue with this movie, is that it's way too long. It goes for 120 minutes. So it's just about 2 hours. And the issue I had with the movie was the pacing of the family aspects. I thought the family aspect was just very out of place. It didn't feel like it belonged in an R18 plus high impact violence, blood and gore film. So on one hand, you've got a movie for adults, but on the other hand, you've got this really fluffy, watered down piece that I just felt as though didn't really absorb my interest as much as the other aspects. And so you've got this family. I'd never felt as though the chemistry was there. I didn't really feel as though this main character was risking a lot. He didn't have a lot to lose. And because of the fluffy sort of tone and the light-hearted cartoonish world that this movie creates, I never felt as though he was really going to lose much. He really was going to lose at the end of the day. I thought as though it was going to be all sugar-coated and everything was going to work out fine. So the suspenseful levels and that threat of loss was non-existent. So therefore, the family aspect I thought was really out of place. It didn't really belong, and I felt as though they could have actually used a much better story as what this guy was going through in his personal life, because I just thought as though they were there to make the runtime longer, and so that really didn't work. The movie does outstay its welcome quite considerably. It's way too long for the fluffy sort of film that it is, but pushing that aside, it's still serviceable. It's not a great movie. I wasn't completely wowed over by it, but you could certainly do a lot worse. So overall, for Day Shift, going to give this one 2.5 stars. It's a solid effort. Go out there and see it if you come across it. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.